first project that we worked with Stephen Strategy on was, I think, probably the first year you were in business. In 2002, we were looking at our women's college, which was a very small college, less than a third of our total enrollment. And we asked John and Stephen Strategy to assist us by doing a women's college viability study. But it was actually more than that. It wasn't just the decision of whether we would go co-ed or not go co-ed, but it was really the whole viability of the college, because then if the recommendations came back that there were things we could do that we would keep it a women's college, but it would become more viable, that was a possibility in our minds, or was the ultimate recommendation to be to go co-ed. So we were that was a very in-depth, very busy kind of it was the kind of a project that you had to have a lot of buy-in. We had been a women's college since we were founded in 1920. This is 2002. Every alum who went through the women's college liked it just the way it was, and there was a lot of emotion attached to the question on campus and off campus. And so it had to be done very carefully. It had to be done with a lot of transparency and with a lot of obvious input, plenty of time for people to understand the data, plenty of data for them to understand, and plenty of time for them to understand it. And we were very, very well pleased with the outcome of the study. I have recommended Stephen Strategy to many other people for similar studies, but we were very well pleased. So pleased that all I have to do is say John Stevens' name at a board meeting, and they'll all say, yes, we know John, and what a wonderful job they did. For the Women's College Viability Study, we did a 5-year financial model for us. And the biggest surprise to us was that at the end of 5 years, our enrollment and our financial situation was really practically on the money for what that 5-year financial project was. And I know how hard it is to do projections, and how sometimes they can be really good and sometimes they can be iffy. And that was one of the biggest surprises there. Again, a pleasant surprise, but still, we didn't expect it to be that close. We had I would believe, one of the smoothest transitions to co-education of any women's college in the country. And I credit a great deal of that to the fact that the ground was so well laid, the data was so thoroughly collected, and the transparency of the whole process. People felt that they knew everything that was going along while it was going on, and there were no surprises, and so it went very well. Not too long after that, we had some governance issues. You know, the committee structure in a university, and we were changing some of that committee structure. We were adding another elected committee, and we asked for some help in how that all fit together. And it was a much shorter project, but we've been very successful with that outcome. And again, the idea of the buy-in was what was so important. And then most recently, we asked Stephen Strategy to do a policy manual revision for us. That's about a year-long process, if anybody is going to consider that. But we are very pleased that we have a common set of policies that for every publication we will be publishing the same thing, and they have been promulgated to everybody. So that was also a very successful endeavor. But what we wanted was to be sure that our policies were in keeping with the latest legislation and with the best practices in higher ed across the country. The same thing was true about the Women's College Viability Study, and the same thing was true about our government issues. So one of the chief things we wanted was the extra added of knowing that we were going to have input that brought to the table the thinking outside of our own insular world. And so we were very pleased about that. I would say that the greatest strengths of the firm are their flexibility. Its willingness to adapt what you know is good practice and best practice to what the client wants done. And I have never felt that when you presented a proposal, it was a cookie cutter that you dragged out of a file because it was the same proposal you did for 4 other schools and who had a similar issue. It always has the feel of reflecting who we are. And so I think that's one of the strengths of the group. I feel like you're an extension of Immaculata. We know each other, we recognize each other, we talk to each other, we know something. But I feel like that when you are on our campus, you are very careful about the culture of our campus, and you have learned a lot about our campus, and you project to other people on the campus that you understand who we are and what we're about and what we want, and it makes it very easy to work with you then.